Hello everyone, it's me Chin. Welcome to another session of Personal Development for the Entrepreneur. Although this is my first video out, the content presented is designed to be the 4th session in my 7-session workshop to equip you with the tools to go from rags to riches. So today we'll be talking a little bit about productivity. I'll be teaching you about optimizing sleep to maximize productivity, daily routines, a strategy for keeping focus, and a little bit about group productivity. Of course, different strokes for different folks. Take and apply what is relevant to your specific situation. There are, however, going to be best practices and recommended methods that will work best for a majority of us because that's how we are biologically wired as human beings. So to start you off, I want you to do a small exercise. Grab a pen and paper and draw out a chart of your daily energy levels. So your energy level throughout the day. Pause if you need some time. Alright, next I want you to write out on a separate piece of paper a schedule of what your typical day looks like. Again, pause if you need more time. Alright, now that you're done with both of those, set them aside, we'll come back to them later. So we'll talk a little bit about the circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is your biological and mental changes in response to light and darkness. While we're talking about circadian rhythm, we want to look at how sleep affects the brain. Sleep is important for recovery of the brain. Your brain only accounts for 2% of your body mass, but it consumes a whopping quarter of your body's energy supply. During waking hours, a lot of waste is produced as a byproduct of your brain's active functioning. Studies have shown that this waste that is built up is not cleared until we go to sleep. While you sleep, the brain flushes its deepest folds and crevices with cerebral spinal fluid to clear out this waste. It's kind of like not cleaning the house during the week while we're busy and putting it off till the weekend. So how can knowing about sleep make us more productive? Let's look at the type of sleeping habits that most people have. Most people fall under monophasic or polyphasic sleeping cycles. Monophasic is basically having one continuous block of sleeping time during the day. For example, 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. without any naps throughout the rest of the day. Polyphasic sleep cycles, on the other hand, just means having multiple sleeping periods. It may actually give you more working time to work with because polyphasic sleep can actually help you increase the amount of waking time that you have. Many notable people have worked successfully with polyphasic sleep. For example, Winston Churchill, Leonardo da Vinci, Benjamin Franklin, and Thomas Edison. Be cautious of the effects though. 1 minute of insight can be worth a century of shoveling. So how exactly does polyphasic sleep help us cut down on the amount of sleep that we need? Slight sleep deprivation has been shown to make us more efficient at sleeping. When we are sleep deprived, we tend to fall asleep and enter deep sleep more quickly. To give you an idea of the scale of amount of sleep you could cut down on, monophasic sleepers require about 8 hours of sleep a day to have full mental alertness and wakefulness. Biphasic sleepers can get by with 6.5 hours of sleep. This is done with a 5-hour sleeping block and a 1.5-hour nap. Another one is the everyman cycle, which will let you get by with 4.5 hours of sleep. This is done with a 3.5-hour sleeping block and 3 20-minute power naps throughout the day. The two most extreme ones are the Dymaxion and the Uberman cycle. Dymaxion lets you get by with 2 hours. This is done with 4 30-minute naps every 6 hours. The Uberman as well lets you get by with 2 hours, but this is done with 6 20-minute naps every 4 hours. So to give you an idea, if you succeed in sleeping 3 hours a day instead of the prescribed 8, at 20 years of age you would gain over 11 years in an average Western lifespan. But of course, don't push yourself too far. You want to remember that the quality of those waking hours is important as well. As a general guideline, scientific studies show that humans are basically biphasic. We typically have a strong drive to sleep at night with a small dip in alertness in the middle of the day. So what happens when you're sleep deprived? Sleep deprivation decreases creative output, peak alertness, average alertness, and it also has multiple negative side effects for your health. To finish this off, I want you to look at the different cycles and apply what is best for yourself. I'll share 2 more tips about sleep. One is that waking up early helps you develop willpower. By waking up early, we develop willpower better, and this helps us make decisions better. You are also most energized right after waking up, which is why we should be tackling the most challenging task right after we wake up. Alright, so the next thing I'll share with you guys is a little bit about daily routines. Routines will help you get in the flow. Some writers would frown at this advice. What about writer's block? It's easier said than done. The trick is, writer's block occurs because you are used to not having a routine and now you're forcing yourself to write in specific allocated times. If you make it a habit to write regularly every day from a certain time, for example 10 to 12, your body will learn to put yourself in the right condition to do that task at that specific time slot. I'll share a little bit about my personal morning routine. I typically wake up early in the morning, and the first thing I like to do is I like to go and exercise. Why is exercise so important for me? Because exercise, especially exercising early, will help you boost mental alertness. It's kind of like starting an engine first thing in the morning. When you are fit, you have higher energy levels, you're more alert, and you have more attention to spare. Next off, what I like to do is I normally spend some time reading. So I'll read a new book, I'll read a few pages, and learn something new. Another part of my morning routine is I like to do some meditation, spend some time meditating. So I'll either meditate or reflect on certain topics. I learned a little bit that for regular mono or biphasic sleepers, it's best to work on personal stuff within the first few hours of waking, because those will not be your most productive hours anyways while your body is still getting used to waking up. And then by the time your day is already starting, you have already crossed a few things off your list and you already have the momentum to keep on going. I also recommend that most of you keep or start a daily planner. A daily planner will help you prioritize planning, it will help you remember more, and it will help you forget less. How should you use this daily planner? You want to set big goals every day to help you energize yourself. And by using the daily planner as a checklist, it's been shown that crossing off or checking off items will actually help us release dopamine and serotonin, both chemicals that are very reinforcing in our brain, and it will give you the incentive to go and accomplish more things. So now I'll share a little tip on how to increase focus. This is a tip that army snipers use to stay alive. It's known as the SLLS. It stands for stop, look, listen, and smell. So how does this work? Have you ever had a time while you're driving and you feel really sleepy while you're driving, but at the moment when you park your car and get off, you realize that you're not sleepy anymore? So why does this happen? This happens because your brain becomes desensitized to repeated stimuli. When you stimulate yourself with the same thing over and over again, it's just gonna wear down on you. So what you want to do is every 2 hours or so, take some time to stop what you're doing, whatever it is, look around, look at different things, not the same thing. You want to listen to different sounds. For example, if your radio is not turned on, turn it on. If your radio is turned on, turn it off. And you want to smell. Take a deep breath and smell. This will really help you awaken and refocus yourself if you're doing repetitive or mundane tasks. So lastly, I'll share a little bit about group productivity. Advice here is quite contradictory because, interestingly, you want to actually avoid building teams unless it's absolutely required. Teams have been scientifically shown to decrease efficiency. Why does this happen? In teams, there is this phenomenon known as social loafing. Social loafing is basically when individuals exert less effort in a group than if they were working individually, because burden and responsibilities are diffused throughout the group. So how can you deal with social loafing? 3 tips. One is you want to assign very clear goals and rewards to the team. So you want to let everybody know what the goals are and what rewards they'll get for accomplishing those goals. Punishments don't work as well because remember, the burdens and responsibilities are diffused throughout the group. Next off, to avoid social loafing, we want to assign specific tasks to team members. If people have specific tasks that they have, it becomes less anonymous and they know what they need to do. They also feel that there is more accountability tied down to them because they know what they are responsible for and they know that you can hold them accountable to that. Last off, you want to get the group to see the bigger picture. So get your team to understand what role they play within the team and how it impacts the organization on a whole. So a few other tips that will help you increase the efficiency of your team. Let's talk a little bit about standard operating procedures, SOP for short. You want to set up systems, especially if it's something that you have never done before. If you've never gone through a sales cycle, document everything that you come across and set up a standard operating procedure. This will help greatly by giving you something to analyze on how to improve, and it will also help set a standard for the whole company so that you know everyone is doing the things that you want them to do in the right way. it becomes a very formal system for learning and teaching. To help with group productivity as well, you want to be able to delegate tasks efficiently. I'll give you a good example of this. If you look at retail stores, there are two ways to manage a retail store. Most commonly, when it comes to sales, one way is if each individual staff go through the whole sales cycle from start to finish. They would greet the customer, they would help out the customer, and then they would bring the customer to the till, close the sale, take the payment. Another method is if you have assigned duties. For example, one person would be assigned to greeting customers, another person would be assigned to helping customers out, another person would be just at the till, ringing up the sales. How do these two methods differ? If you have specific tasks and you delegate specifically, what happens is efficiency increases because people do repeating tasks. It also ensures that each and every customer of yours goes through the same consistent experience. This way you are able to identify specific problems in different sales cycles and who is causing them. Let's say, for example, if suddenly one day a customer comes in and says that they had someone who was really rude to them at the till, it's hard for you to tell who exactly it was. So delegate, it takes a huge burden off yourself as well, and it will help you to focus on the things that you really need to focus on. Another way to get a group to be more productive is to identify a common enemy. While I was working at Wind Mobile, our common enemy was Robolus, Rogers, Bell and Thales. When I was in the Malaysian National Service as a trainee, our common enemy was actually the trainers. We were worried that trainers would abuse their power and put us through harsh punishments, so I managed to unite the fellow trainees by pitting them against the trainers. Although, of course, trainers knew what my purpose was and how I was playing this card in order to get the group to work together. So all in all, these are some tips. I'll share a little bit about a few other miscellaneous productivity tips as well. Interestingly, it's been shown that you actually want to allocate less time for important things. Why is this? This is because you tend to take your time when you have all the time in the world. You also want to try to be able to maximize mindless activities, for example, driving or bathing or jogging. You can maximize this time by listening to audiobooks or TED Talks, or even practicing a speech that you need to give or a pitch that you need to give to an investor. Decluttering your workspace also helps. Mess equals stress. When you have more structure, you become more efficient and effective because there is less distraction. Lastly, stop putting off things for the perfect time. There is no perfect time. Start it and ride the momentum to get it done. I use the 2-minute rule. If it takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. Alright, now that you've learned a little bit about optimizing sleep to increase productivity and about using your daily rituals and a daily planner, I want you to go back to that sheet where you had your energy levels and your daily schedule. Look at where you're doing your task. Are you performing the most challenging task when you have the least amount of energy? Or are you actually optimizing yourself and doing things when you have the right amount of energy? Look at that, reschedule your daily schedule, and see how you can get the most out of yourself. That's it for now. My name is Chin again. If you'd like to know more, feel free to contact me at chinhengchang@gmail.com.